Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Faking Fine with your one and only Marina Jacoby. You will not guess where I was less than 5 hours ago. Yep, a mental health hospital. Involuntarily. But we're not going to talk about that today. I'm actually going to introduce Dr. Kojo Sarfo, a guy who's totally crushing it on TikTok, but making mental health talk not just important, but super relatable and a bit fun too. As seen on his profile, he's not only a Hollywood mental health expert, but a real advocate to using his social media platform to create mental health awareness. In today's conversation, we're keeping it real with stories from our own lives, including the ups and downs of finding our feet in a new country, what life's like here in LA, and why having solid friends is like finding gold. I had a great time recording with Kojo. He's truly an amazing guy. I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. Okay, so where was I? Oh, okay. So I started sweating and then I was trying to pretend that I was okay. So I got even more nervous.
Right.
And then he was talking to me and I was just like really trying to pay attention, but I just was so stressed that I was making it not seem like I was not okay.
Right.
And then in the middle, I just had to go throw up.
Okay.
So just a heads up.
Yeah.
That
it's all good.
It might happen. Yeah. I'm still like getting used to the whole.
Yeah. I think it's even cool for the people who are watching at home to see it. Not that I hope it happens this time, but I mean, if you feel nervous or anxious, just verbalize it, and it helps you. It brings you back to the present.
That's what I think, because I was really trying to hold back.
Right.
And then it just got to a point, because you can see the video and my body's just kind of like curled up, just really trying to pay attention. I think if I would have spoken up earlier and just maybe tell him how I was feeling, I wouldn't have felt that pressure, and it got so bad to that point. But
it's a learning lesson, and you have to fail to learn, and over time you get better at it. But that still may happen from time to time. But putting like a name to it and bring yourself to the present is going to help out, because your brain is doing too many things. Like your brain's in the future, but then your body's here, and you're working twice as hard. So
no, for sure,
talking about it is helpful, and even what you're doing right now, like you're talking about it beforehand, so that way you don't go into this one nervous. I mean, if you gotta throw up, it's all good. Like we'll get it out, and we'll keep it moving. It's real life.
All right, sounds good.
We'll make it work.
Okay, I'm glad. Now that we have that out of the way.
Yes, ma'am.
So, Dr. Kojo.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you want to tell me a little bit about that? Just, I'm confused if it's like a doctor, if it's like I don't.
No, it's a good question. I think it's a great place to start off at. So my doctorate is in nursing practice, with specialty in psychiatry. So think of it as if a psychologist and a psychiatrist had a baby. Then you'd get me. So
gotcha.
Online, it's more so of the psychotherapy part that I mix with the entertainment to educate people. And in clinical practice, it would be more so prescribing medications.
Okay.
Antidepressants, mood stabilizers, antipsychotics. So it's like the best of both worlds. A lot of people don't know about that specific degree, because you take the nursing path to get your doctorate. But we do prescribe medications, and we do psychotherapy as well.
Okay, because I used to see your videos, but you also had doctors. So I was like, I don't know how to put these two together. I'm like, I don't know if you're, I just didn't understand. And then Jake asked me, and I was like, I don't. He was like, is he an actual doctor? I'm like, I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out too.
It's a great question, because people don't know about that track. So anytime I get asked a question, I'm excited, because I get to talk about what the role of a mental health nurse practitioner would do, and the fact that you can stay in school longer to get your doctorate. So that's what I did. You go through the nursing track, you get the nurse practitioner degree, and then you have to do a doctoral project to become a doctor.
Okay.
And I did mine on substance abuse.
Oh, okay. Do you want to tell me a little bit how you got to that? Like, is that the first thing you studied? Or do you have that in mind already? Or did struggles in life take you to that path?
It was struggles in life. Like, I was a fairly bad high school student. I had a 2-something GPA, 2.6, 2.7. And, my biology teacher told me not to go to college and to work at a gas station instead. And I have African parents, so my mom wasn't going for that. She came up to the school and she was so upset. And I remember my dad talking to me. He was like, "What are you gonna do with your life?" I said, "I'm gonna be a rap star." He was like, "No, like, what are you gonna do?" I said, "I don't know. Suggest something to me." And he said, "Do a 2-year nursing degree, and I'll leave you alone." So that's what I did. I did a 2-year nursing degree, and I got that. But he didn't leave me alone. He was like, "Keep going to school. Push for your bachelor's, push for a doctorate. Get the most out of yourself."
Sorry, why did he suggest nursing degree? Was he just why nursing?
Because it's a career where you can be financially stable at a minimum and take care of other people.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of Africans take that route. You come to this country as an immigrant, and after you do the whole food stamps thing, we grew up in Nashville, Tennessee, Section 8 housing, and being poor is traumatic. So my dad was like, "All right, I don't want y'all to struggle like we had to struggle in this country." So he suggested nursing, and it was perfect for me. I didn't know what else I was going to do. I had no idea, and to take that one associate's degree in nursing and to turn it into where I turn everything into today, I feel super fortunate.
All right.
I'm very grateful.
What did you always knew that you wanted to help people, or once you started nursing, not you nursing,
Right.
once you started school, you kind of felt more like intrigued in that direction?
No, I did not plan this out at all. It just more so of whenever a door would open for me in life, has been that way my whole life, leading up to being here in LA. But every time a door would open, I would crack it up a little bit more, and I would just run with it because I never really had any opportunities. So I told myself that, whenever I get a chance, I have to really capitalize on it. And that's what I did. I remember in elementary school, I was in special ed because I was born in Ghana, but we lived in Norway for 5-6 years. And my parents put us in special ed classes so we can get to the good school because we lived in the project. So our zone school was super bad. So she made up some excuse to help us go to the better school. So we had to take the short bus to school. And, I was in the special ed classes, and I was in ESL, English as a second language. But I was teaching the Hispanic kids English, and I would help out the kids with, developmental disabilities and the kids who, they weren't, on par with the other kids. So I've always liked helping people, but I didn't plan to do this. I just, once I got that first nursing degree, I worked in the ICU first because I wanted to do nurse anesthesia because I looked up their salaries online and they made like $200,000 or $300,000. I was like, all right, I'm going to do that. But my dad convinced me to move back to Augusta, Georgia, and work at a psych hospital. And I started working there. I tried to get fired, actually. I kept showing up late because I didn't like it. I show up to
I want the unemployment money.
Right. I'm like, I just want to start the job and quit the job. Like, let me get my 2, 3, 4 weeks, take that pay, and then look for another job. But it was weird being in a psych hospital. You see people smear feces on the wall and people hearing voices. But once I got to the second shift, it slowed down for me. And I realized that these are just regular people who maybe somebody lost their mom or, somebody hit their head. You can hit your head and have a traumatic brain injury. And now you're having,
a whole other life. That's crazy.
Symptoms that look like ADHD or bipolar disorder. So, I took that opportunity and, went back and got my doctorate after working there for so long. And, one thing led to another. And, the pandemic came, and that's when the TikTok boom, started. And I just happened to be on the app at that time. And, I gained a large following pretty quickly. So just anytime I've seen an opportunity with anything, I just kind of run with it. And
when did you move to LA?
January of 2021. So it's
that was right in the pandemic.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Did you move for a very specific reason, or did you just always wanted to LA?
I always wanted to live in LA. It was my dream city. I just never knew how I could afford to live here. So after school, I had a whole lot of debt after school. So once I started working, I cleared all that debt out. And, the girl I was dating at the time, I would always tell her, I'm going to move to LA. And she was like, oh, I'll come with you to LA. It didn't work out that way. But, it was always a goal of mine to get out here. And TikTok, I'm forever grateful to them because right before the pandemic, like a month before, they had this big TikTok creator event where they flew us out here, and we got to meet Terry Crews, Nick Cannon, Tyra Banks, all these celebrities who are talking about how you can use the media to create a career for yourself. I took notes and I went back to the hospital in Virginia. I told myself that I was going to post every single day for like months straight. And I did that. And I kind of ruined that relationship because I was so obsessive about posting. But
were you posting stuff about mental health, or was it just for fun, anything? And then
it was a combination, but it was mainly mental health related.
Okay. And that's how you got your following.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Answering people's questions, and the pandemic coming and people being isolated, substance use rates went up, the depression rates went up. And also I got to talk from my perspective because shortly after that, as I was becoming popular online, I broke up with that girl I was dating at the time. And, so I got to talk about my struggles as well. So I would go on live almost every day and just connect with people. And people had nothing but time. They were on their phones all the time. So that was one of the best, moments of my life, actually.
Would you mind talking a little bit more about what was for you? I don't know if the breakup brought the depression or the struggling times for you, but I get distracted really easily.
No, I did too. I'm trying to act like I'm not distracted, but my brain's always moving at 1,000 miles per minute.
Yeah, mine too. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. When, was there ever a point that you hit rock bottom and that was it when you were like, okay, I need to get my life better? Or are you still struggling? I guess I have so many. Okay. I have 3 questions, but let me try to put them in order.
I got time. I'll answer them all.
Okay. The first one, I guess, would be, when did you find out you were struggling with mental health?
Oh, well, I mean, it's been so many moments. I've always known that I was different as a kid. It was always hard for me to focus in class. I would see, the kids go to the nurse's office and take pills, and they come back and they get their work done. And I was the last one to turn in my tests all the time. And I would tell my mom, I'm like, Mom, these white kids at school, they're getting these medications and they can focus. I need help. And she was like, no, none of my kids have anything. You'll be fine. Just pray. And I kept praying harder and I kept failing tests. And it wasn't until 7th grade that I put a name on it, ADHD. I was actually watching a baseball game, and I'll never forget the first baseman of the Atlanta Braves. He made an error, and it cost us the game. And I was pissed. And after the game, he said that he has ADHD and he struggled with it his whole life. And as I read the article, I was like, I have that same thing. But I was in 7th grade. We didn't have money or resources. So, and because it's an invisible condition, you feel bad asking your parents for help. They're trying to pay the rent. And I'm talking about, I can't focus in class. I'm like, nah, it's whatever. And it wasn't until I was in school getting my doctorate that I was diagnosed. And that was when I was 26. And that was kind of a low. I've had many rock bottoms, or bottom, no rock, just lows. And I was overwhelmed with school. I couldn't get my work done Monday through Friday. So it would bleed into the weekends. And then I would tell the girl that I was dating at that time, hey, I'm behind. I would cancel dates. And she's like, oh, you don't care about the relationship. But I was trying to get through school. I was working, 2 jobs in the weekend to take care of my family and help my grandma. And everything was spiraling. And then I finally got diagnosed and treated for ADHD. And then for the first time ever, my brain would be quiet.
Okay. Yeah.
And that was a big, game changer for me. But yeah, life is a series of struggles, and I have mini meltdowns all the time. I could have one at 9 a.m. and then by 1 p.m. I'm turned up and down, doing my thing. So, it happens.
Other than ADHD, is there, do you struggle with anything else?
So my thing is, because I consider myself to be the best in the world at what I do. I'm pretty good at diagnosing. So sometimes I feel like I have bipolar.
Okay.
I'm definitely anxious. I know that for a fact. And depression comes and goes.
Have you ever been treated for depression?
I have not. But the ADHD medications, if somebody takes, let's say you have major depressive disorder and you try 2 antidepressants, if you have 2 failed trials. So let's say you try Zoloft for 6 weeks, it doesn't work. You try Prozac, for 6 weeks and it doesn't work. Sometimes people use a stimulant to help out. They call it treatment-resistant depression. So the ADHD meds, they bring your mood up. So
Okay.
I feel like I would probably be more depressed if I didn't have those meds because it does bring your mood up.
So that's the only medication you're in right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Adderall XR.
Okay. I started...
Shout out to Adderall.
Shut up. Okay. I never took Adderall, but I've heard of it many times. A lot of the students in my school used to take Adderall.
Yeah.
But I would tell my parents about it. I'm like, they have that. I probably have that too because I always struggle in school too. And they were like, that doesn't exist. Like that's not a thing. My parents, for the really long time, when it came to depression and anxiety and all of that, they were just like, if they could have, like, they would tell me if I could have dealt with everything I dealt by my age, then you can do it too.
Right.
Like my parents would just give me a chancletazo or like whatever, and then that's it. You just have to move on and keep going.
And they're from Nicaragua?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So then I guess they passed that on to me. And when I would come with all my mental health struggles, they wouldn't really understand. And they were just like, you have to suck it up and just keep going. But I got diagnosed with major depressive disorder. And right now I'm on Effexor XR.
Yeah, Effexor, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Venlafaxine.
Mm-hmm. And I've been on it for a year and a half now, which it's like for anxiety and depression. But when you said that your thoughts were like calming down, I'm like, yes, I get that feeling. It was as soon as I started that medication, my thoughts just calmed down so much. I used to overthink. I'm always in the future, always in the past. I'm never in the present.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised right now. I'm even
you're in the present right now.
I know, but I'm even thinking about that. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so present. And then I'm like, wait, stop thinking that because then you're not present. Then like focus again. Like just pay attention to what he's saying.
Yeah.
Do you have any side effects with the medication you take?
Well, with not only Adderall but any stimulant, it'll affect your appetite. It'll make your mouth dry. So I don't take my meds on days where I do podcasts like this.
Okay. So you don't take it every day. It's like you just take it.
I don't take it every day. You're supposed to take it every day, but you can take a break on the weekends if you want. Or the way the stimulants work, a lot of kids will skip it throughout the summer months. And just play sports and be engaged. But when it comes down to focusing, because ADHD is really an issue with regulating your attention and regulating your emotions.
Okay.
So when it comes to regulating your attention in school, like you have to be paying attention in math class. You can't be worried about everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So then you really have to take it. And on the weekends, if you're playing with your friends, when you have ADHD and you naturally enjoy something, it's not hard to pay attention.
Okay.
Yeah. So like right now, like I'm engaged, I'm fully present. So it's not as hard to regulate my attention. But
that makes sense.
If you're teaching like a math lecture or something like that, I would have taken my meds.
Okay. I see that so until maybe like 2 or 3 months ago, I had never heard this word. I don't know if it's just because I'm not from here, but neurodivergent.
Neurodivergent, yeah.
Yes. Do you want to
talk about it? Yeah.
Yeah, because I had no idea. And then once I clicked a clip, now all of my clips like on the reels and everything is about that. And I'm like so into it, obviously. I'm like, I don't know. It's really interesting, but I don't think many people know what it is, or I don't know if it's just starting that word to like kind of come to light.
We're definitely talking about it more. So neurodivergent, neuro brain divergent, like going away, a different path. So it's like an atypical brain, and neurotypical is somebody who is quote unquote normal, but I don't really know what normal is. But the term neurodivergence is an umbrella term. It's mainly used to describe people with ADHD, people who are autistic, people who are dyslexic, but also sometimes we'll put people with traumatic brain injuries in there. But mainly when you see on the internet, people are referring to autistic people or people who have ADHD.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hear a lot of people now using the word autistic just with anything, kind of.
Yeah.
How do you know if someone is autistic, not until the level that you're obviously autistic, if that makes sense.
No, I know what you're trying to ask. So it's a spectrum, autism. Back in the day, they used to classify it, they'd say like Asperger's or like high functioning, but it really is a spectrum. But it's when you have autism, a lot of times you struggle socially with things like picking up people's like energy and like making eye contact, not really knowing how to communicate with the world. And you more than likely will need support. Anybody who's autistic will need support. The level of support that you need will vary. Like, let's say if you're level 1, they have like a level system. If you're level 1, you might need minimal support. And my ex-girlfriend was autistic, and she was she's a nurse. Like, she was very like able to take care of herself. But then again, like, I work with some patients who are severely autistic who will never be able to be independent. They will need some support. And a lot of times there'll be aggression associated with autism when you need that much support because they're not able to communicate their needs.
Okay.
Like, if, somebody put tape on your mouth for a day, you get frustrated. Like, I want to go to the bathroom. I need to get some food. You can't speak up for yourself. So a lot of times the aggression comes from the fact that they cannot communicate their needs. But it's definitely a spectrum of disorders. But a lot of people are undiagnosed and have autism, and they have to find out. Women normally have to wait sometimes until their 30s or 40s to get diagnosed with ADHD and or autism. So
what's the difference you would say between, or how would you be able to define if it's autism or anxiety?
The only way to really know is to get psychiatric evaluation. Like, I tell people all the time to get, and you can go to a psychologist, but I would go to somebody from, the branch of psychiatry and get a psychiatric evaluation, because sometimes you cannot tell the difference. And a lot of times when you are autistic, you see a lot of suicidal ideation because you're going to have to create a new world for yourself where you can figure out how to communicate, how to feel safe, how to feel protected, and how to appreciate yourself. And a lot of times when you have autism, you will have anxiety along with it. You will have depression along with it. So sometimes you have both. So it's difficult to tell, like, is it one or the other? A lot of times it's both.
How do I know if I'm autistic, like, if I'm not, or if I'm not? Like, yeah, like, I don't know.
So
he's like, yeah, you.
I mean, you never know. But with autism, a lot of times you have to go to a psychologist and do a thorough evaluation. And, you fill out questionnaires. We're going to be looking at, your social behaviors, like not just even the eye contact thing. We'll be looking at how you communicate, like what's your communication style? How do you respond to, sensory things in your environment? Do you get overstimulated easily? Do loud noises irritate you? Do bright lights irritate you? Is the clothing that you're wearing, like the jewelry, like, is that messing with your neck?
Okay.
It goes quite in depth, and I can normally tell when I do an evaluation if somebody's autistic or not. Like, I will, refer them for further evaluation, but a lot of times I can tell just looking at posture, looking at, lack of eye contact, and looking at how they communicate with other people.
Okay. But it is easily, like, you can easily confuse it with either anxiety or depression. Like, it could be, because in my head,
all the time,
I had no idea, because there was an autistic kid in my school when I was maybe like in 7th grade. The first time I heard about the word autism, and he was, I don't know what level it is, but he needed someone there with him to do everything. Like, he didn't have any friends. He couldn't talk to anyone. He couldn't really communicate. So for me, that's what it was.
Right.
And then I came to the States, and then I start hearing autism everywhere and autistic, and you must be autistic. Like, it just used very, I don't know what the right word would be, but just throwing it around.
Right. It's used liberally. And and sometimes people, like, there's no look to autism. And of course, like, you have kids who are level 2 or 3 who may need, special support or like a special helmet, So when you see somebody, especially like yourself, people don't think that, they think autism has a look. It doesn't really have a look. Like I said, I dated somebody who was autistic, like, I mean, I just saw somebody who I was attracted to. I didn't really see, like, you can't really see it. So it's difficult to pick up on it. But a lot of, even NBA players. I think his name is Tony Snell. He got diagnosed with autism late. And then when he looked back, I think his son got diagnosed first. And then he was like, oh, I need to go get diagnosed. Or I need to go get evaluated for this thing. But a lot of times people will look back and they'll think to themselves like, oh, I did kind of communicate a little bit differently than other kids, or like I get overwhelmed very easily, or I need like a lot of alone time. You know, these individuals need way more alone time than, you know, your neurotypical person, because they have to go recharge their batteries. And women get diagnosed later in life because they're able to kind of like mask, you know, and masking is just like putting out a different version of yourself that's more socially acceptable.
Okay.
So like if you're like a model and you know that people give you praise when you talk about this, or if you're talking about like Tyra Banks or some runway thing, then you'll, you know, talk about that stuff more. Or a lot of autistic women will take on, you know, interests that are very popular, like Barbie or something that's known to be feminine, where they may really enjoy race cars. But if they, you know, talk about that, they'll be seen as an outcast. So when you mask your whole life, there's this thing called unmasking, which is really just returning to who you are. And that's really difficult because all the friends you've made have been based off of the person that you put out there. And now you're coming back to yourself and you're, you know, learn to love yourself and put that out there. But then you may lose friends and, you know, in that situation because they don't know you like that. And now you're speaking up for yourself. Now you're setting boundaries, which will, you know, kind of ward off a lot of people.
Okay. That makes sense. I do you want to do it? Hey, Google. Go for it.
Hey, Google, lamp on.
I don't know why that light turns off sometimes.
Sorry, it looks like that device hasn't been set up yet.
There we go.
Okay, there we go.
Thank you, Google.
This is not fully related on autism because, I mean, I don't know. But now that you said that, so I moved from Nicaragua and then I came over here and then I was dealing through the whole like depression and I hit rock bottom. And then when I started making my life in LA, I wasn't sure who I was because I was also a pageant queen. So I used to put up this persona and this character, this charismatic face all the time because that's what you're supposed to do. And if you're a pageant queen, if you're not, you're gonna be a bitch.
Right.
So you have to be this good person. And then I stopped doing so many things because I was scared of what other people were gonna say. And then I'm also an example for little kids. So I'm like, I just created this whole thing. And then I came to the States and I'm like, I'm no one here. No one knows me. Like no one gives a shit for whatever you do. And so I didn't know who I was. I'm like, well, I used to be so much more fun when I was back in Nicaragua. And now I don't feel like that. Like I used to not care when I was with my closest friends in Nicaragua how I would be. But then I come here and then I would start making friends. But I'm like, are these my actual friends? Like, are these people I actually want to be with? Or are they... It's so confusing because you just lose yourself.
Yeah. Do you know who you are now?
You know, I'm still struggling.
Okay. No shame in that.
I think it's getting better. I am hoping that with this podcast, I will get to a better place. I've dealt with depression for a really long time. And I feel like that hasn't really allowed me to get to a point where I can fully explore myself.
Understandable.
And so right now it's like, I started this podcast because the past 3 months have been very hard. And so I went into like a depressive episode, not as bad as other episodes, but I think I'm in meds and I'm with a therapist of that CBT therapy specifically. So I think that has helped a lot. But I'm just tired. I was exhausted. I'm like, I can't keep living like this.
Yeah.
And it's been the second time that I've said that. The first time was before it was a September last year, I believe.
2023 or 22?
2023, 2020. Oh, that's going to take me a while. We'll cut that part.
No, it's all good. You're doing a good job, by the way. And also,
thank you.
action defeats anxiety. And it also like pushes depression away because depression is the leading cause of disability worldwide. And depression is expensive. It costs you a lot of money because you're not like you're stuck more or less. You're
No,
tired.
absolutely.
You're tired all the time.
It's
You're emotionally tired too.
that's the thing, and I think it's I don't know. I think it's September last year, but I was just to a point that I'm like, my anxiety, because I always dealt with depression, but then the anxiety started getting so bad. I literally would be changing for 2 hours just to go to the beach that I knew that I was gonna probably be wearing a bikini and or a hoodie at the end of the because my head was going 1,000 miles per hour, and it was always like that. And I'm like, I can't keep living like this. I'm not gonna make it another year like this.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I need help. I just hit a point that I was like, I just can't. And I'm in LA by myself. Like my parents are not here to just pick me up if I need anything. Or I didn't have a boyfriend. And then I didn't have really good friends per se.
Yeah.
So I was just by myself. And I'm like, I'm gonna die. I have a lot of suicidal thoughts. So I was just like, this is
which is very common, by the way. And it's not that you're a bad person. It's just your brain signaling to you that you cannot keep living this way. Not that you don't want to be here. You just, the way you're living is not suitable for any human being to live.
Yeah, so it's just better to just.
Yeah, you're looking for any other way to live, and when you can't find that, your brain is naturally going to think, okay, there's a quick way to get rid of this pain. It's a permanent way. It's not anything we want, but there's a quick way to get rid of this pain. And I tell people all the time, there's no shame in getting help, no shame in seeing somebody, doing a thorough psychiatric evaluation. Everybody who's depressed should always be assessed for bipolar disorder. A lot of doctors do suck. I hate to say it, but they get into it for the money. And I hate it because I'll see patients, like they'll come in and I'll read through the charts and I'm like, this patient is being placed on this medication. The literature says that this medication does not help out with bipolar disorder. Why in the world are you putting this kid on? And I'll tell the parents.
But also it's very expensive. If you don't have insurance,
it's,
I just lost my insurance with my employer and I'm literally like right now, like last week, and I'm freaking out because I am on antidepressants and then I have therapy. So I'm like, I don't even know how I'm going to afford that right now.
It's tough. And moving to LA, I had a lot of guilt because, I moved to LA, I left a population that really needed me. I dealt with a lot of guilt because I'm coming here. I was like, who do you think you are? You think you're TikTok famous? You think you want to do comedy and people need you? I still do see patients, but that helps me out. Like I help myself out by giving myself a routine, or else with ADHD, there'll be self-destructive behavior. I know, it'll be drugs and women. Like I'm no better than anybody else. I have to put myself on a schedule, and do the right thing. But there's no shame in getting help. And back to your point about, that's the thing about America. Like when your insurance is tied to your employment, the way it's set up, you almost have to like work, you know?
And it also, because I remember the first time I was looking for a therapist, it's so hard to find a therapist. And then you're depressed. You're literally about to jump off the balcony and you're looking for a therapist. And it's so hard. Like the whole entire process is just so hard. And I'm like, they have to make it easier for people who are looking for help.
And I think people should always go to somebody from the side of psychiatry because they can prescribe medications. And if you're depressed, they should always screen you for bipolar disorder. See if you're going days without sleep. Are you talking super fast? Are you blowing a lot of money? Are you talking are you having, grandiose delusions? Any psychosis is present. Are you hypersexual? If you're depressed, you should always be assessed for ADHD as well. Somebody should give you a questionnaire and talk to you through it. See if you've had a hard time focusing your whole life. If you haven't been able to manage regulate your attention, regulate your mood, you should be screened for all of those things. And a lot of women who have ADHD, like they don't catch it until they have a kid who presents with these symptoms. And then you get to 38 and then you're looking back at your life and you have all this regret and you're thinking to yourself like, dang, if I had just gotten the help, I would have like reached my potential. And a lot of neurodivergent people, the suicide rate is, ideation in that population is really high. Because without that help, you're going to feel helpless. And helplessness and hopelessness is like at the core of suicidal ideation. So that's why I tell people all the time, you have to get a full, thorough workup. And like, I don't think people should even be married without a psychiatric evaluation. Because you're going into the biggest, business deal / living arrangement of your life. You don't know how this person operates, and you don't know how you are yourself. And mental health has to be like a priority. It's not something you don't want to address it, after the fact. The more proactive you are, you give yourself a much better chance to do better in life.
I just think they have, because even right now he's saying that I haven't gotten a thorough, is that what you're saying? A thorough.
I don't want to say your doctors suck, but
no, that's the thing. I don't. So it was so hard to get help that my friend recommended someone, and then I've been with her for CBT therapy, but she can't give me like the meds,
the medications. Yeah.
And then I was just in a really bad place, so I don't have the energy to do all these things, and so I just went to my like annual physical doctor, which Jake's also says she sucks. So it might be true. But she was the one, like, they told me I had major depressive disorder in Nicaragua, but then I stopped the meds, and then my parents were bringing the meds from Nicaragua to here because here I couldn't get them at the beginning when I didn't have
gotcha.
What is it? Insurance. And then time passed, I got the insurance, I got the meds. But it was because my primary physician was like, maybe you should go back on the medication. And I told her, I was like, these are the ones I had. And then she put me on a lower dosage, and I was like, that's not working. So I basically told her to put me on one of my other psychiatrists from Nicaragua had me. So right now I am interested, now that I've been really just studying and learning all these things about mental health, to really see what's up. Because I just feel I've always felt very different, and there's just so much going on in my life that I'm like, I'm sure there's something else, not other depression and anxiety.
I don't want to diagnose you, and I can't do that. But it's always
we'll talk later.
Right. But it's always better to get a group of, like, you want a diagnosis that best explains your symptoms. And like, people will come in all the time, and the reason why I know some of these doctors suck is you'll see somebody comes in, they have depression and bipolar. You cannot have those two at the same time. You can't. Like, if you have depression and a manic episode is present, well, now your diagnosis has been upgraded to bipolar 1 or 2 or cyclothymia. Or people come in with schizophrenia and bipolar at the same time. You can't have that. You can have schizoaffective disorder, or you can have bipolar disorder with psychosis, but you can't have these two at the same time. So when I see people come in with like all these funk, I'm like, I feel really bad, because some of these parents, they search high and low for help for their kids, and people don't care. Like, it's just become like, write the script, get the money. Write the script, get the money. And like, for a long time, I've tried to say, oh, well, I guess some people just do not care, and they just, like, it's not a calling for them.
Mm-hmm.
It's just is what it is. But it's always best to get a full workup, because if you feel like you've always been different, there's like, and if you're doing good now, that's great. But you always, like, we shouldn't be like just surviving. Life is not meant for us to survive. You should thrive. Like, every day, you should be able to capture those moments of joy and really sit there and be present. Like, life is meant to be enjoyed with the people that you love. And if you feel like you're just kind of getting by, then you're not living life the way it should be lived. And a lot of people, when that becomes your normal, you just don't know.
And that's what happened to me. And that's with this podcast right now. I was like, because I have that, like, written somewhere, I was like, I am just surviving right now. Like, I am not living.
Yeah.
I haven't lived in forever. I cannot imagine one time that I was really just living, like getting up, just excited. Not even excited, just getting out of my bed, because I'm looking forward to something. It's always just like, I'm dreading. Is that the right word? Dreading?
Maybe not dreading. You're just not like excited.
I'm just like, I'm waking up and I'm like okay,
you might as well.
I'll go from the bed to the couch just because, but that's like, nothing motivated me. And I was just like, I just can't. This is too much.
Yeah. And your brain over time starts to work against you because your brain realizes that you're unreliable. Like, oh, your brain knows that you don't get things done. We're not going to do anything today. So, you're like, okay, whatever, I'll do whatever. And confidence comes from repeated self-achievement. When you do things over and over, you become more confident. And I've seen kids come in to the office, and I'm thinking of this one kid. I had him as a patient recently. I'm so proud of him. He came in, and I didn't know he was about to fail out of high school, but like his grades were really bad. And now I diagnosed him with ADHD, and I believe he's autistic as well. So I think he should look into that. But then after he started the medications, like he came in and just like he had his swag, like how he was walking, he was confident, he was decisive. Like when you're low, when your mood's low, you're indecisive, your memory goes away, you question yourself, you're like you're just not sure. He was decisive, and his grades had skyrocketed, and his mom said he was about to be kicked out of high school or not make it to college, and now his grades are on top, and like he has a plan now. And if you don't know what you're aiming at, you probably won't hit your target. So to see that, it's an amazing thing. And I remember his first appointment, like the language he would use, it was more so of like, oh, like I can't do that, or like and your brain realized, oh, like we've never done it before. If I've never done something in 18 years, what makes me think I can actually do it now?
Yeah.
So once you get on the right meds and then you start to, do, then you realize that, oh, I can. It's not a matter of if you can't or can or can't, because you can, but it's a matter of if you have the tools necessary to allow you to do that. Because if you don't, then you'll never know what you're capable of achieving.
Because it's also a process, like with what you're saying, because you can have this goal or this dream, but to try to achieve that dream, you have to be in the right mindset. But to be in the right mindset, you need to look for help. But to look for help, you need to
exactly,
try to be better, like really want to be better. But when you're depressed, you don't want to be better. So it's like, it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
You really need, I guess any type of support, like other people there for you, trying to help you get there. Because to get to that one point high where you would want to go, there's so many other things that are just holding you back.
Yeah.
And not even like outside things, just things within yourself that you just can't do.
Right. Because your brain, and when you have a lot of insight into the fact that you're struggling, but you can't change it, is even worse. Because if you don't know why you have no motivation and why you can't get out of bed, it's a little bit better. You're like, okay, well, I'm just low energy. Mm-hmm. But then when it's like, there's a problem and you can't fix it, then it's even worse, because you're like, okay, I know I need help, but I don't know how in the world I can get this help. Like I'm stuck. And then you don't have the energy to seek out the help. So you do rely on the people around you, and you hope that you have genuine people, which, that's the LA thing, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
But having at least one person in your circle, you just need one person who, and when you're depressed, having somebody who just kind of goes out of the way, come over, do the laundry, like bring you, like all that, it means a lot.
Which is the other reason I think it's so important to start talking about mental health and depression, because it's like, I feel like sometimes people suddenly commit death. Suddenly commit suicide.
Yeah, it's an impulsive act, yeah.
And then people are like, why? Like, what happened? Like, he looked this sort of way. But then maybe the people around that specific person were not allowing him or her to open up and to talk about their struggles. And so obviously it's going to come as a surprise because no one knew what was going on. Yeah, I just wanted to say that.
No, it's a very impulsive act. And sometimes it's planned out, sometimes it's not. But what I find to be helpful is if somebody's suicidal, if they can just like think for a second about like the people they care about them, or maybe just be distracted. Like if you have to go to soccer practice the next day and you're oh, well, my teammates need me. I'll hang around for one more practice.
But that's the thing, because sometimes there is that opportunity where your mind is a little clearer. So you're like, oh, I'm going to think about my family and this and that. But then sometimes you're just, your head, because I also think people can have a different perception of they're committing suicide. They don't think about anything else. They don't care. They're selfish.
Right.
But it's not even about that. I'm not saying that it's a good thing to do,
Mhm.
but it's also when you're in that state, because I have been, you're not thinking about anything else.
Right.
Not because you don't want to, but because your brain is just
Right.
thinking about all the reasons why you should not be
Right.
in this world right now.
Your brain works against you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Fully, completely. And then at that moment, you do something and then that's it. Like either you're lucky and then it didn't work, or you can't go back.
It's always best to reach out to somebody, and it won't make sense to you. So at that point, you can't go off of logic, because your logic is not linear. You're not thinking in the way that's conducive to your life.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to know, okay, like I'll call somebody or take a hot shower or do something to buy yourself a little bit more time. Because if you think in that state of mind, your brain, and our brains sometimes are our own worst enemies. We have to train ourselves to not believe every single thought that comes in our brain. That's where the CBT comes in.
Mm-hmm.
You reframe your thoughts. It's an active effort. Because if you have a bad day, or a bad moment can turn into a bad day, which can turn into a bad 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And you can stay there. And without somebody helping you out, you can stay there and you start to believe all these things about yourself. So to break that thought pattern, you have to have willpower that you learn in therapy, or just friends that check up on you. Having friends where you can normalize this conversation.
Yeah.
Not trying to push yourself too much.
Yeah.
Like,
that you can be open about it.
Yeah.
It's just that because I feel like the people I surround myself with right now, it's just like maybe like two friends.
That's good in LA.
Yeah, I know, in LA. Yeah, my boyfriend and my best friend. That's it.
That's good. That's all you need.
No, literally.
That's all you need.
Right now that I've been in a bad, I don't know, phase of my life, they have been so receptive towards what I say, and like when I'm not feeling well or when I have these thoughts or I'm going through a bad moment, they're just like, okay, how can I help? How can I make this better? They have created this like such a safe space for me to say,
that's awesome.
I'm not feeling well, that it got distracted by the
It's all good.
It's just such a safe space that I know that if I am suicidal at a moment, I can text them and be like, hey, this is what's going on. And I don't feel, obviously sometimes it can be like I can feel shame for just being stuck on this again. But the fact that I even consider like I can text this person just takes so really much pressure from me. And I just think if anyone who hears it, it's really important just to create a space where any of your friends or family can talk about it. You're not going to dismiss mental health, or you're not going to be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, be stronger. Or
if you have even just one person, you have two. And this city is weird because this city you can have a lot of like friends.
This city is something else for sure.
No, I know. I just came from a podcast where I was telling them I've lost $50,000 in 3 years trying to help people and trying to put people on. And now I'm like, I'm good. The help that I need is really within myself. And like watching energy and it's okay to love somebody and say, hey, you stay there, I stay here. Because when it comes down to things like mental health maintenance and needing that safe space, you need genuine people there. Because to need help as an adult is embarrassing sometimes. It's really hard to ask somebody for help and realize that you need help. Yeah. Like you need support. Like you cannot get from point A to point B without somebody else's intervention. Is really difficult. It brings a lot of shame.
Yeah.
And if you're around people who are like, if they do it like reluctantly, like, like, oh, okay, then you will never go back to them again. You'll read their energy and you're like, okay, all right, cool. Like this is the last time I ever come to you.
Yeah.
So having quality is way more important than quantity. I would take 2 real ones over 30 friends.
Which is LA, basically. Everyone here just has a shit ton of friends without really having a close circle. It's so hard to find genuine people.
It's extremely...
It's lonely. It's a lonely place. You moved here?
It is.
Did you have any friends when you moved out here 2021?
No, just people I met from social media. And like right off the bat, we moved into a content house. And then we didn't sign a contract or anything, which is why I have contracts for everything. I move with security. Like I put everything in order. I have a lawyer. You know, like within my first 3 months, once that, dissolved, I was on the hook for like $20,000.
Oh God.
You know, I had to pay it and move on. And then that was my rude awakening, introduction to the city. And I still didn't learn my lesson, but now I know. And, people are out for themselves here. This city specifically, you need good people.
Yeah.
Like just the pressure of the city, like it almost makes it easier to get an eating disorder out here. Just by seeing how people work so hard because of they need this role and that role, or the depression out here. You see, like I do comedy now. We lost, I think Neil Nanda. He died by suicide, I think about a month ago. And it's crazy because I was talking to a friend of mine who's a comic, and we've been doing check-ins on each other, just texting each other like, "Hey, how do you feel? Like, from 1 to 10, where are you at? Are we going to take a break?" Or, like those conversations amongst men is so important because you're not superhuman, and we take pride sometimes in being like, I can do it all, but we really can't. And if you get to the point where you burn out, you'll feel it, and you have to change the way you live. So having people around you, especially in LA, this is one of those cities where have one or two people that are really close to you. Like people are out here with no emergency contact, just like thugging it out. LA it's something else. This is not the place to be alone and struggling with your mental health. I mean, nowhere is, but especially this city.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta be very careful.
I learned that the hard way, but thank God, I finally found some people. So more than one. That's a blessing. Yeah,
that's a blessing.
I definitely think about that a lot. It's just when I didn't have that, I felt so much more lonely.
Yeah,
and now it's just a little better. Like you're struggling, but you can just ask for help or just. Yeah.
And I mean, just how transparent you've been. A depressive episode will show you who your friends are really quick.
Yeah.
You'll find out really quick because, now you're not hanging out. You're not coming out to the parties and the premieres and the red carpets or whatever. So when you're not that fun person, like when you need help and support, things become very clear to you. Very clear to you.
I have one. So you have a lot of videos that talk about how hard it is to do the smallest things when you are dealing with depression or mental health or all these things. And I think it's so important because not everyone understands how hard it is to do the simplest thing ever. And I posted a story that said, if the only things you were able to do this year was survive, that is something to be so proud of. You're still here. You did it. I'm proud of you. And someone in my stories said, that's not enough. And I was like, why? And he said, because everyone does that. It's the bare minimum. And it kind of shocked me because I'm like, I guess I see that other people can see it that way, but I was like, you don't know what other people are going through. Like that's the bare minimum maybe for you. But then what about, like, I'm here. I barely posted this story. Like I'm maybe in my bed thinking about suicide, posting this story because I want to help other people, but I can barely help myself. So I just wanted to, I guess I just wanted to talk to you about that. Just because people are not open to that. Like, some people don't take a shower in 3 days a week. I don't know, because they're depressed and they can't do it.
Right.
And I've seen so many of you post like very short videos about that, just different small things.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it. I've seen people being, so afraid to go to the dentist after a depressive episode because, how their teeth have gotten. They haven't brushed their teeth in a month and a half. So I know how hard it is to do those small things. And nowadays, when I get comments like that on the internet, where it's like, oh, you should do more than that, I'm just like, oh, okay. Like they want that. I'm not going to engage. I'm not going to argue with you. And sometimes they're doing it to be smart, or I don't know if they don't understand it. But that culture of like, I'm going to push myself to the limit. No, because I used to be that type of person. I'm like, by any means necessary. No, now I honor my feelings. I'm not going to overwork myself. It's dehumanizing to like be low on energy and just push yourself and do the best you can. If you can just get out of bed, I always say every day, find one thing to be proud of. Get out of bed, walk the dog. write it down and give yourself a win and hop back in bed. Then you can rock the day away in bed, but at least you have one thing to be proud of. But people don't understand that, and it's not until it either happens to you or happens to somebody that you love, and even then, people still don't want to believe in it. And I don't know what more you need to see, because it's not like people are faking this. Like, people die by suicide all the time. So why would somebody fake? Like why would somebody fake not doing anything as an adult?
But it's still crazy that people died from suicide, and then people still don't believe on like the mental health, and they were just
Yeah.
I don't know why I did it. Why he did it? It's just
it's tough because, I mean, prior to me doing this as a career, I had limited. I didn't know, but once I knew, and I was around it, I asked myself, how do people not know that this is a big issue? Like, don't you see the stories on the news? Aren't you keeping up with what's happening? People are dying, and it's going to keep happening, unfortunately. And we have to wait until somebody who's notable passes away, and then people say, "Oh, if you need, help, call 988." Like, why can't we say that now?
Yeah,
we're just way too reactive still. Like, I don't think the government, the mental health services, is not sufficient. It's too hard to get help. It's not linear.
Yeah,
it's not linear. Like, you can't just go and find somebody. Like, we should be doing telehealth. We should make that way more accessible to people. So you can talk to somebody who's in Sacramento, who's licensed in California, over a laptop. Because if you're depressed and you can't get out of bed, it'd be pretty cool to open up your laptop or your iPad and talk to somebody.
Yeah.
And then maybe have Amazon's trying to take over everything. Have them get the medications from CVS, bring it to the house, like a DoorDash. Like, there's a way to make this simpler.
I have a question. I don't know if you're going to have the answer, but
I hope I have it.
I remember when I moved out here and I was just very lonely. Just like AA and SLAW and CODA, like all these things have different support groups. Why is there not a support group for depression or anxiety? Is it because they're going to make other people commit? Like, I don't know.
That's a great question. I'm not entirely sure why. A lot of people don't know that what they're going through is depression. So for starters, that's number one. People don't realize that that's depression. People will, eat the same thing from Chipotle for 5 weeks, and you're like, damn, like, I know that's if that's all you're eating, you're barely eating, your energy is low, your focus is bad, like, there's a good chance you could be depressed. A lot of people don't want to acknowledge it when they know that it's there. It's also kind of embarrassing to talk about. And you're afraid of what people will say about you.
But that's the thing. If there's that for AA, like, it has been, I think it's kind of like a normal thing now to be like, oh, like, I'm sober and I go to meetings and all of this. Why is there not that for, I don't know, depression? I just don't. Yeah. Like, should we make a support group?
I was just about to say, that's your lane. I mean, it's up to us. Like, I didn't realize, it took me maybe like 2.5, 3 years to realize what I was doing on social media. I didn't really even understand it. Like, I don't understand, like, why, like, there's millions of views I get every month. And I was like, okay, like, it wasn't much to me until, like, I started to really go through, like, comments and DMs. And I wish, and I can't make, people's information public, but I wish people could read the DMs I get. It's remarkable what people will tell me, like, things that they don't tell their wives or husbands, or like, well, I saw this video, I was going to hurt myself or whatever. And there's a lot of is shame and stigma. Shame and stigma is probably one of the leading reasons why people won't talk about it. Because, like, it doesn't have a face. Like, if somebody just looked at you, they'd be like, oh, she's a model. Like who wants to hear your story?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I don't care. Like, she probably has this. She probably won a pageant. As if that matters.
Yeah.
Right? Or if athletes and celebrities, when they talk about it, people are, well, they live in this big, like, that person can still, rich people die by suicide all the time. Anthony Bourdain, he traveled, and, like, people still struggle, but people who are at the bottom don't understand how somebody can have everything and still not want to be here. And sometimes when you're up at the top, you realize that people have empathy for you, so you won't speak up. But realizing that mental illness doesn't care who you are, what you have, what you don't have, it's the great equalizer. We saw that during the pandemic.
And I guess maybe that's why people, since there's not a support group or somewhere people can go, that's why maybe they go to your profile and they feel some sort of like a safe space or comfort just seeing that either you're going through something or you know what they're going through.
Right.
Because I feel like
that's it right there. That's it. A lot of people want to know that they're not the only ones, because it makes you feel like, dang, I'm the only person in Los Angeles. I'm the only person in the world who's been in bed for 4 days. Like, you really feel like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You hit the nail on the head right there.
That's how I was in LA when I was in LA. I went to LA and I went through like a lot of ups and downs to be where I am today. But one of those moments I posted a story, just like many stories of the journey of like my apartments and trying to find an apartment and the problems I had and this and that. Just, I don't know why, like something in my head was like, maybe you should share this with everyone. And I had never been so real. Like, I moved out here and everyone thought I had this amazing life just because obviously I post like, oh, I'm in LA. I post pretty outfits. I post fun stuff. I don't post myself crying. And the response I got from people was amazing. They were like, oh, I had no idea that you, like Marina, Miss Nicaragua, was going through this. Like I would have never imagined. And that opened my eyes. I was like, oh, like this, there's
you have a lot of responsibility.
Here. Like I guess I was just like in awe. I was like, what is going? I got so many messages from people just saying like, I go through the same thing, this and that. And so I opened another like private account because I wasn't ready to talk about all of this on my, just like my main account. One. Yeah. And I was like, and I made it private. Yeah. I said private account. And I said, whoever wants to follow the real Marina No Filter, like you can come follow me here. And I started sharing my mental health. And so many people, again, like they were like, oh, I struggle with this too. Like, thank you so much for sharing because you share that. Like, I feel like I can share my story too.
Yeah.
And that was just, I feel like that was the moment that I was like, okay, I need to do something with this and I need to speak up because you guys are not alone. Like, I thought I was alone and them telling me their stories helped me so much that they probably don't even know. Like, because of them, because specifically that private group is that I am creating this podcast. They motivated me and they have kept me, I can't even say like alive because I just felt like I had a space where I could talk with these people that were going through the same thing. So that's what I'm like, this is what I'm trying to do with the podcast, just like a safe space where people that are going through anything.
You're doing it, you're not trying, you're doing it. Yeah. You got to take out the try. It's very binary. You're doing it or you're not. And like, we're doing it. We're doing it. You're doing it. And you have to give yourself credit. And I feel like you have a responsibility, whether you know it or not. And you owe it to yourself, yes, but to other people, you don't know who you're going to affect. And because of who you are, who will listen to you. And it sucks that you have to be Miss Nicaragua or, you have to live in LA to have people listen to you. But that's the truth of the matter. Like, I didn't get people didn't listen to me until I put a doctor in for my name. And I'm like, hold up, I'm a doctor. Oh, now we'll listen to him, So like, you have to use whatever you can to get the message out there. And y'all speak Portuguese or Spanish in Nicaragua?
Spanish.
Okay, just making sure. I get confused. But the Spanish speaking community, that's a lane right there. Like, I've thought about dubbing my content in Spanish and putting it out there to people in their native language. You can reach so many people. Like you don't know what you could do, and you have two solid people. Like, you could do so much, and people need it. And not only does it help them, it helps you as well. Mm-hmm. And for me, like, one of the best things that I can do is help out other people. So like, I still have plans to grow my entertainment company and use social media to reach people and make short films. But it is important for me to still see patients. I didn't realize how important that was until the strike, last year, and my routine was going away. And, with ADHD, when you get bored, you can get destructive. You have to have, all of us need routine. But for me, I think it's a beautiful thing that I help myself by helping out other people. And also, like, it reaffirms that, oh, wow, I'm good at this. Like I'm good at connecting to these people. And I think about, oh, these kids, like, if I didn't catch this, they would have kept suffering. Like, seeing the smiles on the parents' faces when the kids are sleeping again, they're not staying up, they're not manic, they're not depressed. It's I have a lot of things I want to do, but I don't think that anything will top that in terms of like what I'm bringing to the world. Because you get to be a part of somebody's story. They'll never forget you. So using your voice to speak out, and like we can all reach somebody. Like, a black male in Chicago might not want to listen to you, to talk about depression. They might want to listen to me. A girl from your home country might connect to you. You could be her hero. So creating this podcast and talking about this, it lifts that weight off of people's shoulder, because then it normalizes them. And we're all looking for acceptance. We want to be a part of some group. I don't want people to, be in that group where we're all depressed and like we stay down. No, but like you need acceptance first. Realize, oh, I'm a human being worthy of love, attention, and respect. And then as you start to feel better about yourself, to start doing things. And then like it could be as simple as creating a Facebook group or just telling somebody, hey, like I do, this series on TikTok where we talk about celebrating the small wins. I brushed my teeth today. Great. I took the dog out for a walk today. I sent one email today. So now I'm sending an email is like, like I'm always kind of behind on something, but celebrating the small ones is so super important, because you don't know what people are going through out there. And, it makes it worse when you have to like fake the funk.
Yeah.
Or you have to keep everything aesthetic on Instagram and like,
faking
right.
fine.
Faking it fine. Because everybody's just doing their best to kind of like appear as if they're okay.
Yeah.
And when you haven't been okay for a long time and somebody says, you know what, I've been going through X, Y, and Z, it's liberating, because now you're like, I can tell my story.
Yeah.
I've been holding my breath this whole time. So I'm a big fan of what you're doing here. And I think that just creating that space, especially like in the model world, I don't know what the proper term is, but I can see how, the depression could be off the charts. The body dysmorphia can be off the charts. The eating disorders, people don't know how like dangerous eating disorders are. They can be quite fatal. And even like Meta is, I need to talk to my people at Meta, because they're trying to like not shadow ban, but remove content where you talk about eating disorders online.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just to protect kids. But I'm like, no, let's talk about it. I have to misspell words sometimes to talk about those things, but we should be talking about that more, because kids are, not eating for days on end to fit in. And
well, because that's the thing. Social media is creating this perfect life that everyone wants. And it's like,
and it's not attainable.
Yeah.
And the quest for perfection is directly tied to anxiety. If you want to be perfect, you'll never start. You want to be perfect, you're going to be paralyzed. It's not attainable or sustainable to be perfect.
Yeah.
So like just starting wherever you're at and bringing people along with you. And that's what has been my goal on social media. And it's like, look at where I'm at now. Look at the people that we're connecting with. It's not without somebody talking about their journey and being open about these things. And like I talk about, my struggles for so long that now, I'll be talking to somebody and they're like, oh, you're so brave. I'm like, I talk about this all the time, but it gives people the confidence to go out there and also share their story. And once you put it out there and say, oh, I have depression, I have bipolar, ADHD, or autism, then you can finally slay the dragon.
Yeah. Well, because now imagine if just the biggest, I don't know, people in the world would really, not the biggest people in the world, the biggest, I guess, people with the following. The biggest people with following.
Right. The biggest platforms.
Sure.
Yeah.
They would share their truths, like what's going on behind the scene, and not only what's going on Instagram and TikTok and all these things. Like, if I were to see all this famous people with perfect bodies and perfect whatever not be so perfect, maybe I wouldn't, well, especially me, because I'm struggling with my mental health, I wouldn't. So what I'm trying to say is since I'm struggling, I still don't have the full confidence on myself. So I see this other people and I'm like, oh, I want to be like them. Like, why are they like that? Why can I be like that? And then I self-sabotage and then I go into this dark hole. And I'm like, if they would share their reality, then I would be like, helpful. Oh, she's like me. Like we're the same. Like what? Oh, she has cellulite. I can have cellulite. Like I'm going to show up myself. Like she's showing off hers. Like, but we don't see that yet. It's like we feel we just need to start talking about it.
Somebody has to realize that, and people do realize that it's helpful to be transparent. I have seen some celebrities talk about this stuff, and I work with CVS. I've been a partner with them for 2.5 years, and they have a campaign where they promise to not digitally alter any image. I think that is great.
Oh, that's really cool.
I want to say it's Beauty Unfiltered. I should know it, but my memory goes all over the place sometimes. But it's good to see that you can post a photo without having to like doctor it up. I think in Norway or one of the Scandinavian countries, they prevented people from putting filters on photos.
Oh yeah, I heard. I don't know where exactly, but I heard. Yeah.
So, and even Instagram, like now, if you look at the likes, like it won't show you somebody's likes. So say liked by Dr. Kojo Sarfo and others.
Yeah.
So I think just normalizing these conversations and realizing that you don't have to be perfect. It takes so much pressure off of you. But I think you're leading by example. And being able to say, I don't have the confidence or I'm working through this, it makes people feel like, oh, okay, I can start and I can get there. Because objects in motion are easier to move along. But if you sit there and you ideate and you get stuck inside your head and you're stuck inside the house or the apartment, it's going to be really difficult to make any progress. It's helpful to just go outside, clear your mind, like go outside, just walk a block and come back. Give yourself credit for it. Like I'm really big on the small wins now. And I used to be really hard on myself. I think it comes from playing football and like, that was my language. Like this talk, like the negative self-talk and like, you're not shit, like, get together. But now I've worked on becoming much nicer to myself. Way more nicer to myself because we're just doing the best that we can.
Yeah.
And all of these small things, these moments of joy, where you can realize that, oh, wow, I've been able to do 3 things this week. Last week I did 1 thing. I've been able to go initiate a conversation with a stranger. And since in this post-COVID world, we're way more detached. There's no community.
Yeah.
And I'm sure back in your home country, like it was more community based.
Yeah.
And that helps out because people would say, oh, why is there no depression in Ghana or in South America? Not that there's no depression there, but there's more community.
Yeah.
You feel like you can go to somebody and ask for help. It's not, so individualistic. So having these support systems and just talking about it, it's so helpful. So don't ever think that you're not doing anything because there's somebody who you speak their language, not like physically language, but you speak they're able to connect with you because you opened up and started speaking about your journey. So I think it's a powerful thing. Mental illness is a great equalizer. It doesn't care who you are or what you do.
Yeah.
We all struggle.
Well, thank you for saying that. Thank you for you've been saying nice things, so thank you.
It's really important to be nice. I saw, not to get off topic, I do that a lot. Saw a post on Twitter about a college professor who took her own life due to bullying from the administrators recently. And this is somebody who's a doctor, probably in her mid-40s, very accomplished. She still took her own life. So people don't realize that it's just be nice. Like you don't have to be an asshole. Every now and then, maybe Bank of America pissed me off or, there's reasons to be upset, but being nice is the way.
No, because it's true. Like, where was it? This lady, I was going to the airport and this lady, I took the wrong lane. She was so rude. And I wasn't I was just going through something. It was when I was traveling from Texas, right now, like a week ago from Texas to LA. I was very anxious because I was coming back from the holidays. I had so much to do. And I was just not in a great mental space. Yeah. And then this lady just yelled at me like I don't even remember what she said. But I just turned and looked at her so scared because she was like, that's the wrong lane. Like, are you not seeing blah, blah, blah. And she just came at me and I'm like, I'm just like, what? Like, I was just trying, I was distracted. I'm sorry. Like, I didn't see it. Like, she was so rude that and I don't know. She could have said it so much nicer. It would have been better for my mental health. I know that it's not anyone else's responsibility, but like, you don't have to be rude. You don't know what someone else is going through. Like, I was going through a moment, and then I even had like a mini panic attack on the plane, getting on the plane. So I don't know. Maybe she could have triggered that. Just be nice. It costs nothing to just tell me, hey, excuse me, you're on the wrong lane. Oh, okay, thank you. Like, that's it.
It's
frustrating.
The simplest thing that you can do. And you have to manage your own impulses sometime to not come across as an asshole. But being nice, like I try my best to, do one nice thing for everybody, at least somebody once a day. Most days I don't get to do that. Like, I'm caught up in my own thing. But whenever it comes to my mind, now I have this thing to where if I can compliment somebody, I'm like, oh, you're good at that. You're good at that. Yeah. Oh, I like this. I like that. Because it's like you're paying it forward, that kindness. And when people say nice things about me, it makes me feel really good. Like, I can remember a compliment for years, So I think it costs nothing to be kind. And that's our way of helping out other people, especially in an election year that we have coming up. It always gets nasty around this time. So I'm doing my best to lean into kindness.
I love that. Well, that's very nice. You're very nice.
That's a good compliment. And the older I get, I pay attention to things like that. Like those compliments where it's like, oh, you're nice, versus, oh, like you do this. Like, I don't care about that stuff. That stuff can go away. It's more so like, how do you treat other people? Because now that I've been in LA for 3 years, like, I really pay attention to that.
Yeah.
When I'm deciding who to be around. Like, if you do one bad thing to somebody else, like, I don't want to be associated with you. And I won't. Like, I'm heavy on the, like, I don't say nothing, but you won't hear from me again.
Yeah.
I just kind of fall back.
Just kind of, we need to get away from the toxic people and the toxic parts that don't contribute to your life. Because there's already so much going on that it's like.
Right. Yeah. And there are people who are struggling too, and they deserve grace and mercy. But, I wish them the best, but over there, and like, I'm sure you can relate, but if your friend group has dwindled, you've seen things that made you question people's intentions.
For sure.
And where people are coming from. And like, quality is so much more important than quantity. Like, two people, like you said, two people is a lot. You can use those humans and you can achieve everything you want in this city. Like, two people is a lot.
Yeah, I'm grateful.
One person that can pick you up from LAX is a lot. So I didn't realize that until I came to LA. Did not. So now I'm way more grateful. I live in a state of gratitude because my default is to complain. So
it's so easy just to fall back on that. Yeah.
So those are the small practical things that people can do, even without medications, to help them out. Like, just lean into that joy, fight the negative thoughts, and just keep good people around you. Like, I'm very intentional about, the relationships I keep around me, and just make sure that I treat those people really good. And also, expect the same from them.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I don't know.
I appreciate you.
Is there any... There's a part where I get nervous. Now I'm thinking about what I need to say about ending the podcast, and I don't know.
But that's cool. I hope you keep this. I mean, it's your podcast, but I hope you keep this in, because like, now on social media, like, I look for people who are like human, and like, I like seeing like human moments. Like, that's a human moment. Like, it's not like, I don't want to see, nothing against models, but like, I don't want to see like someone who's perfect, Like, not that anybody's perfect, but when you appear to be perfect, it's like, like, they're too smooth. Like, it's cool to like fumble over your words, or to be like that's what captures my attention now. Mm-hmm. And it's just people who are transparent and authentic. Like, that's who people gravitate towards. And like, nobody's doing that. People always edit things out to make it smooth. So if people see that, then the girl who really relates to you is like, oh, wow, she did this, and she lives in LA. And for some reason, people think that LA is like, whatever. So it's like, she lives in LA and she's like me. Like, that's super cool. And for so long, I would, suppress parts of me. Like if I'm stuttering or whatever, I would like reshoot a video. Nah, I just let it fly. Like it is what it is. I fumble over my words. I use the wrong word. It is what it is. If anything, it makes you stand out. And people are looking for people who stand out. So I think what you're doing here is fantastic. I'm honored to be a guest.
Oh, thank you so much. That's really sweet. I'm really glad because I know obviously like you couldn't just go back to my video, not to my videos, but back to my, I don't know, Spotify, whatever, just to hear what I would say. Like,
right.
Okay, let's restart.
It's all good. It's all good. You're doing good. You're good.
No, but like you couldn't just go back.
Job.
Thank you. You couldn't just go back to see what I was going to put out there, and you agreed to come to my podcast just based on what I messaged you and what the little that we talked. So I really appreciate that because it's not everyone that's just going to really help someone that's just starting. So I really, really appreciate you being here.
And I appreciate the invite, and I'm just grateful for the state of mind that I was in when I saw the message, because last year was a difficult year for me emotionally, taking chances on people and being let down. And after a while, you're like you see it coming. I'm like, all right, but I told Kevin, I'm like, no, like, we'll do this podcast. Let's stick to it. Let's do the podcast. So I'm grateful I could be here, and this could be the start of something that could be really helpful to a lot of people and yourself included. And I believe you have everything that you need to let this thing work.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I really appreciate that. Thank you.
You got it. And I like I would watch a podcast where it's unedited. I mean, like, still do what you want to do, but like I just like real moments. Like,
well, that's what Jake was telling me, because yesterday I had the panic attack and I just literally had to go throw up. And he was like, "You should." I don't know if you said add all of it, or did you just leave some of it? Now he's nervous. He's like, I don't know. He's like, it's good that it happened because you can show like this is what it is. It's faking fine. Like you're showing what it actually is. You don't have to fake fine. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't like. I'm gonna have to edit some part of it. I can't just.
I mean, that's the most engaging part of it.
Up.
That's the most engaging part of it. Like, I listen to him. Like, it's transparent, it's authentic, and it's real. And right now, people are craving for real on the internet. Like, I watch the trends, and they're turning against influencers because they think influencers have all this perfect life, but they want real. And this is real. This is transparent. Like, and like life is now. Like, and I've struggled with being present too. Like, I'm working on being present. That's part of why I do comedy. Because the most important relationship when you're doing comedy is the relationship with the room. If you're on, like tonight, if I'm on stage and I'm bombing, I gotta let them know, hey, I'm bombing. And then you laugh. Right. And then you get a laugh, and then I get to catch my breath. And then they can see me as a human being trying. But then, like, if you just keep going, you don't acknowledge it, it's like it feels like a robot. So like I'm doing my best to be present, and you're to my left. The LaCroix is there, the cameras are there, the people. We have people who are watching. So I'm always working on being present, because sometimes my mind is in the future too, and I'm letting all these amazing moments just fly by me, and I'm living in the future, and I can't even control the future. It makes no sense to do that. Yeah. No, you're doing a great job. You're doing a good job.
Thank you.
You're doing a great job. And I'm happy. I'm happy you have, last thing I'll say, because I like to ramble, but I'm happy you have people around you. Like, that's so important. You can't do it by yourself. Just get you 2 solid people. Just write it out. 2, like you got your 2, you're good. And of course, people will come along the way. But if you have 2 solid people in LA, you're a rich person.
How many people do you have here?
1, 2.
Sounds like 2. You're considering the third one.
Yeah. 3. Yeah.
3?
Yeah, 3. Are
you sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
3. And I'm trying to think if I have any more. I can't think of any.
Are they part of your team, or are they just friends outside of the whole like entertainment kind of?
No, part of my team. So Vanessa, who I work with, Roberto and Andy, all 3 will be at the comedy show. And those are people that, like, if I need something, I can reach out to them and say, hey, like, I need boom, boom, boom. because I don't like asking for help. I hate asking for help. I absolutely hate it. Even if it's, like I asked her the other day to pick up some mail for me because I was coming in from Texas. And even that, like, I hate it because I'm like, no, I owe him something. Or, like, I hate asking for help. And that's kind of how I gauge who I have. Because besides her and Roberto and Andy, I can't think of anybody that I would be comfortable asking for help.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So 3.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm a very rich person. That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it's tough.
Especially in LA. I just have to add like especially in LA. It's
yeah, because like I'm surrounded by a lot of people and I collaborate with a lot of folks and it's a very transactional city.
Yeah, absolutely.
If we're doing business, it's fine. Like, I pay like it's cool.
But even sometimes friendships start like that and then like far along the friendship, you realize that it's a transactional friendship and it's not what you thought it was.
No, that's what I've been going through. Like I used to, like throw these big parties in the hills and have all these folks coming over. And then, when I stopped and then, you see how people act, I'm like, dang, like I thought you were like, and like I knew, you kind of know, but you like having people around, you like the attention. Did I mess up something?
No, it's good.
Hey, Google, lamp on.
My fault, Google.
Perfect. I honestly don't know why it keeps doing that.
But yeah, like I've had to learn the hard way. And it hurts your feelings at first. I'm like, dang, like I thought these people were like solid or like I could reach out, for help. And
it's disappointing. Especially when it happens like over and over again.
It's very disappointing. But for me, I don't have to learn too many times. Like now that I know, but I know. And yeah, we can still do business. I prefer even working with people that I'm friends with. At least let's be cordial.
Yeah.
Like let's like each other at a minimum level. And it's tough finding your folks out here. But I'm finally at a place where I'm able to, better enforce boundaries. And I just started saying no a whole lot. And, I started watching people just drop off. But I'll never choose anybody over myself. Never, And like you have to reach, you have to reach a certain low to realize that.
Yeah. I did that for a long time and I'm just starting to kind of get into that mindset.
And how old are you?
28.
You're learning at a good time. I'm 31 now. I'm learning. Like if you learn by 40, you're good. Because I see people who are givers. You look like a giver. People who are givers should be with givers. And when you have somebody who is helping you with like pocket, that's amazing. Because a lot of times givers get with takers.
Yeah.
And takers just take. And then you get validation by feeling like you're giving them something and you are, but you're not getting anything back. So when givers get with each other, it's an amazing thing. And all the people in my circle are all givers.
Yeah.
They would give the shirt off the back to me if I needed it. And that's how I gauge whether somebody's a true friend or not. I used to use the word friend, for anybody, but no, a friend is a big thing nowadays. A friend. Now I say, acquaintances, associates.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have 2-3. We're blessed. We're blessed, and it's going to be an amazing year. This is going to be a successful podcast. I'm going to have a great year.
Manifesting. Yeah,
manifesting and put a little bit of action behind it. But we're going to have a great year, and we're going to help out a lot of people. And I hope this podcast reaches the people who need to see it. And I'm excited for what y'all are building here.
Thank you. That's so sweet. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you.
Please, if you want to share where to follow you, where do we follow you? Where do we see you? Where do we?
So
I know you do comedy,
right? For comedy, I post those on Instagram, Instagram.com/Dr. Kojo Sarfo. On TikTok is the same thing, but there's a dot between the doctor and the Kojo Sarfo. Facebook.com/Dr. Kojo Sarfo. And we have a growing audience on YouTube. So that's youtube.com/Kojo Sarfo. Keep up with what I'm doing, and we're going to reach a lot more people and save lives and have a lot of fun along the way. So thank you to Marina for giving me this platform, and I appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you for
yes, ma'am.
for being here.
Anytime.
Yeah. I get distracted really easily. Like, I can't do it. Where was I? I'm still struggling. Is that what you're saying? I got distracted by that.